Good day everyone, especially to our risk management as applied to safety, security, and sanitation instructor, Mr. Rolando T. Laurente Jr. I am lovely Nina Bentulan and I am going to discuss about the risk management framework, specifically the definition of case risk management terms. And we have the intended learning outcome. First is conduct a safety and sanitation inspection in the establishment and maintenance of a safe and secure workplace implementation of occupational health and safety procedures. Next is the be able to make a risk management framework after a safety inspection in the establishment. Risk management are often used by international businesses to define plausible risk management strategies. Next is the definition of key risk management terms. First is the risk management, the process of weighing policy alternatives in the light of the results of risk assessment and, if required, selecting and implementing appropriate control options, including regulatory measures. It is the process of identifying potential risks or threats in advance. It takes precautionary countermeasures or alternative actions of the results of risk assessment. It also implements appropriate control point and regulatory measures if needed. Next is the risk assessment policy. Guidelines for value judgment and policy choices which needed to be applied to specific decision points in the risk assessment process. Risk assessment policy setting is a risk management responsibility which be carried out in full collaboration with risk assessors. Risk assessment policy is a tool used by companies and organizations to identify and respond to risk in a way that minimizes their impact. The guidelines should be documented so as to ensure consistency and transparency. Examples of risk assessment policy setting are establishing the populations at risk, establishing criteria for ranking of hazards, and guidelines for application of safety factors. Risk profile is a description of food safety problem. It is identify the hazard, threats, or risks in various risk management decisions. A typical risk profile might include a brief description of situation, product, or commodity involved, the values expected to be placed at risk, example, human economic concerns. Third is potential consequences. The fourth one is consumer perception of the risk and the distribution of risk and benefit. Virtually give you to Dilwyn Claire Hinterani to discuss more about the risk management framework.
Hello everyone, good day, especially to our instructor in THC 122, Mr. Rolando Torion Laurenti Jr. Good day, sir. I am Dilwyn Claire Senior Hinterani from the SHM1C, and today I'm going to discuss the Risk Management Framework. A risk management framework, or RMF, is the structured process used to identify potential threats to an organization and to define the strategy for eliminating or minimizing the impact of this risk, as well as the mechanism to effectively monitor and evaluate this strategy. Elements of risk management. First is risk evaluation. Risk evaluation is identification of a food safety problem, establishment of risk profile, ranking of the hazard for the risk assessment and risk management priority, establishment of risk assessment policy for conduct of risk assessment, commissioning of the risk assessment, consideration of risk assessment result. So risk evaluation attempts to define what the estimated risk actually means to people concerned with or affected by the risk. A large part of this evaluation will be the consideration of how people perceive risk. Next is Risk management option assessment. So in risk management option assessment is identification of available management options, selection of preferred management option including consideration of an appropriate safety standard, and last is final management decision. Risk management option assessment are usually cited as risk handling options subdivided as avoidance, control, assumption, risk transfer, and knowledge and research. Generally, the assessment of management option is a heap shot since the necessary decision must occur early in a program when things are still fuzzy. However, if experienced personnel are given the facts, one can expect very good decisions since there is seldom any real mystery about the practicality of options available. Next is implementation of management decision. Decision implementation requires managing the consequences of this network of related decision to achieve our desired purpose or intent, individually or as part of an organization. Next is monitoring and review. So monitoring and review is assessment of effectiveness of measure taken, review risk management, and or assessment as necessary. So monitoring and review should be planned part of the risk management process and involve regular checking or surveillance. The result should be recorded and reported externally and internally as appropriate. The results should also be an input to the review and continuous improvement of the firm's risk management framework. It is important that all interested parties who are likely to be affected by risk management decision have an opportunity for input into the risk management process. These groups may include, but should not be limited to consumers' organization, representatives of the food industry and trade, education, research and institutions, and regulatory bodies. A consultative process can be implemented in many ways, ranging from public meetings to opportunities to comment on public documents. Inputs from interested parties can be introduced and considered at various stages of the risk management policy formulation process, including evaluation and review.
So, the definition of risk management, the process of weighing policy alternatives in the light of the results of risk assessment, and it required selecting and implementing appropriate control options, including regulatory measures. There are 7 general principles of food safety risk management. So for the principle 1, we have risk management should follow a structured approach. The elements of a structured approach to risk management are risk evaluation, risk management, option assessment, implementation of management decision, and monitoring and review. In certain circumstances, not all of these elements will be included in risk management activities. For the principle 2, we have a protection of human health should be the primary consideration in risk management decision. So, decision and acceptable level of risk should determined primarily by human health considerations, and arbitrary or unjustified differences in the risk levels should be avoided. Consideration of other factors or economic cost, benefits, technical feasibility, and societal preferences may be inappropriate in some risk management contexts, particularly in the determination of measures to be taken. In this principle, we have risk management decisions and practices should be transparent. Risk management should include the identification and systematic documentation of all elements of the risk management process, including decision-making, so that the rationale is transparent to all interested parties. And for the fourth principle, we have determination of risk assessment. Policy should be included as a specific component of risk management. Risk assessment policy sets the guidelines for value judgments and policy choices which may need to be applied at specific decision points in the risk assessment process and preferably should be determined in advance of risk assessment in collaboration with risk assessors. These interested parties are commonly referred to as stakeholders in a number of countries.
Principle 5. Risk management should ensure the scientific integrity of the risk assessment process by maintaining the functional separation of risk management and risk assessment. Functional separation of risk management and risk assessment serves to ensure the scientific integrity of risk assessment process and reduce any conflict of interest between risk assessment and risk management. However, it is recognized that risk analysis is an iterative process, and interactions between risk managers and risk assessors are essential for practical application. Principle 6. Risk management decisions should take into account the uncertainty in the output of the risk assessment. The risk estimate should, wherever possible, include numerical expressions of uncertainty, and this must be conveyed to risk managers in a readily understandable form so that the full applications of the range of uncertainty can be included in decision making. For example, if the risk estimate is highly uncertain, the risk management decision might be more conservative. Principle 7. Risk management should include clear, interactive communication with consumers and other interested parties in all aspects of the process. Ongoing reciprocal communication among all interested parties is an integral part of the risk management process. Risk communication is more than the dissemination of information, and a major function is the process by which information and opinion essentials to effective risk management is incorporated into the decision. Principle 8. Risk management should be a continuing process that takes into account all newly generated data in the evaluation and review of risk management decisions. Subsequent to the application of a risk management decision, periodic evaluation of the decision should be made to determine its effectiveness in meeting food safety objectives. Monitoring and other activities will likely be necessary to carry out the review effectively.